And good evening, everyone. How the hell are you? Hope you're having a good day. We're here enjoying the much loved heat and humidity down by the beach. Hope the weather is fair where you are. Joined by Miss Ellen, and we are also blessed to have the uh, fabulous Toots. I just love that name as our moderator tonight. So appreciate y'all joining in, whether you're live or on the replay crew. So Ellen, tell everybody, hey.
Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm trying to get my volume up because I can't hear you all that well. Okay, speak again.
Speak again. Who, me?
Yes.
That a little better? Yeah, we don't have a good way of testing things until we actually go live. So it takes us a minute to get everything on the computers and the mics adjusted sometimes. So appreciate your patience. Tonight we've got somewhat of an interesting show, I think. Start off with who owns your money? Kind of a interesting question. Most people would say, my money is mine. I own it. I control it. I can do what I want with it when I want.
I was muted. Sorry.
That may not be the case. We'll
Hello.
also take a look at
Can you hear me?
not just the U.S. condition, but some other conditions around the world. Yes, ma'am?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think I
Can
was
hear you.
muted. So, okay. The first when I said hello, I think I was muted. Um, so I'm
No, we
good.
heard you. You're good.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Because
as per usual.
I got tech
Hello,
issues.
Nutrix. How are you doing? Good to
Hey,
see
new
you.
tricks. So, who does own your money? I thought I owned my money and you owned your money and everyone owns their own money.
Well, it's depends on how you define own. I always think of going back to the Bill Clinton. Depends on what the definition of is. But new tricks. She's worried about you. Do you have
No,
AC, Ellen?
not really. Ergo the wet hair still because yeah, I mean my man Dave came through in the clutch and came over and said, yeah, your whatever is clogged, the drainage is clogged. He did that, but I mean he came over. I mean it's summer where we live and everybody has AC issues, but he is the brother of a hairstylist that I used to work with. So he kind of comes in on the clutch for us when he has to. But so he did at least get some air flowing, which is nice. And when he has more time from all of his other already established appointments, then he will get back to us and help us fix the actual problem. But there is at least air flowing.
Yeah, I think the actual problem is that the whole unit's going to have to be replaced. So I'm like, not excited about that. And I've got one of the old Freon units. Yeah. So they're going to have to redo the whole thing. It's not just a piece. They're going to have to just basically install a whole new unit. And I saw something about the administration trying to even tighten regulations on air conditioning. I did not read the details, so I don't know what all they've got planned, but I'd be willing to bet it makes it more expensive.
They don't live in the United States South. I guarantee you that because they don't understand. It was 95 degrees today and about 80% humidity, which I don't know if you just heated up air to like even 80 degrees and then you get water heated to that point. The water will be much hotter than the actual air. It is the humidity just makes it like 10 degrees hotter.
Yeah,
Am
it's
I
like
wrong?
walking. Well,
In a sauna.
you know how steam is technically 212 degrees. Water turns to steam at 212 degrees. So you think, but as the steam rises, you can put your hand in it and not get burnt. It it has diffused so much that that heat is not really felt. Well, that's kind of what it's like walking out the door. It's like walking into a wall of steam and
You
heat.
can barely breathe. It's like it's so thick.
Nutrix, good evening. How's everyone?
Hot.
Tried to answer that a little bit earlier. How are you doing? Hope everything is going well for you. Um, we complain about the heat and humidity, but we live at the beach. It's kind of not
It's not
altogether
that
a
bad.
horrible thing.
No.
If we'd enjoy it a whole lot more if the tourists weren't all around. But I understand. People. We moved down here because we loved it, and so we can't really blame people for coming down here. But now that we're here, we're full. Let's put up a wall.
that kind of happened during COVID because we weren't that popular until we were the first beach to open on the North Carolina coast during COVID. And so
Yeah, and
then
several of the other beaches around us really hiked up their parking, paved over some of their parking. Wonder why. And so a lot of the people that used to go to those beaches now come down here. Plus, we've had, when I moved on the island, there was probably 5,000 people. There's now probably about 15,000. It is a
at least.
vastly different island.
And Nutrix
Ocean
7, Ocean
breezes.
Breezes, I will not complain that in the morning, early, like at 5:36, and in the late evening, around 11 or midnight, you can sit on our back porch and hear the ocean. I can't complain about that. The breezes, because we're in like a Charleston style neighborhood, the houses are so close together that we don't get a whole lot of the breeze.
Yeah. We can get decent breezes out walking, or if we walk down to the beach, we're about, as the crow flies with traditional city blocks, we're probably about 2 blocks off the beach. Here we have very, very small blocks, 2 or 3 small houses per block. So we're about 5 blocks off. But either way, it's about a 5-minute walk, few minute walk. Down on the beach, you get really nice breezes.
Mm-hmm.
Even as close as we are to the beach, the breeze is greatly diminished. It still moves. You still feel the air move, but the breeze on the ocean may be 10 or 12 miles. Here it'll be
1, 2.
1, 2,
Not
3.
much.
Yeah. It's enough to keep the bugs away. However fast that is. When there's no breeze, the mosquitoes, the little gnats, no-see-ums, whatever around. But when there's a breeze, those aren't a problem.
And when you're on the beach and there is a point during August and September where the biting flies come around. And if there is no breeze on the ocean or off the ocean, you can lay on the beach and get eaten to death. I mean, they will bite you every chance they get.
Yeah, it can be pretty brutal. There's a string of barrier islands that are part of the national park system, so nobody lives on them. You can take a ferry to them and camp. And so go out there and, pitch a tent. Tried it middle of July years ago. Wasn't a whole lot of breeze, and it was, you were just beating the hell out of yourself trying to slap the bugs. It was unmerciful.
You tried in August about 5 years ago.
I don't remember what the bugs were like then. Is that when we
It
had the
wasn't
hurricane?
our second
Yeah.
date. That was fun.
Yeah, we went up there and literally the first night there had a tropical, basically the equivalent of a tropical storm blow through the sides of the tent. Instead of being like this, they were like this. The wind was blowing so hard, filling up with rain, the water pouring in. And so I had to sleep like I was in an obstetrician's chair with my legs, not sleep, but middle of the night, I was in an obstetrician's chair with my legs straight up, trying to hold the tent
The
up,
sides.
the sides
I
of the
slept
tent
like a
up.
baby.
Yeah, and she was out. She was
And so
sawing
was
logs.
Tallulah. Tallulah was too. She laid on top of your chest and fell asleep.
Yeah, because there was water filling in the tent, and on my side, on the beach, the sand slopes just a little bit, so all the water that had gotten in was was down at my end. So I was basically in water and spent most of the night with my legs up against the side of it, trying to keep it from folding in. Fun night. Next
I
day
thought
we
it was
decide,
great.
yeah. Next day we decide, okay, because it's continuing, it's still carrying on. We decide, okay, we'll just go ahead and pack up and head out. So we do, get in the car, throw the switch, and nothing. Nothing. Apparently, I had a little leak down by the window sill, and water had gotten in behind the dash and gotten all over one of the electronic control boards. So, no juice. So, I basically had to rent a ferry and hire a tow truck to come out on the beach to come get us. Not even going to say what all that cost.
A lot.
And then we had to rent an Airbnb and Uber around because the truck had to dry out. So, interesting second date. Not going to lie.
Hey, I was good. I'm actually trying to find a picture to send to you so you could post it of that lovely, lovely
New
um,
tricks.
towing.
I did that once at Assateague. Hope I pronounced that right. The flies were so bad we left after one night. Kay's crazy cat queen. Dang it, 12
Hey,
minutes late.
girl.
Listening at 1.75 speed to catch up. Glad to see you, crazy cat queen. Appreciate you joining us. Always good to have the family reunited.
I'm getting there, y'all. Hang on. Oh,
Getting
here.
there.
Okay, that
You got to
was.
understand, she's got to go through like 5,000 pictures to try to find the one she
No,
wants.
I
She
found it.
saves
I have found it.
everything on her phone.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do. Okay, we're gonna go back to that and we're gonna select that one. I want to see them all though. Don't just stop at that. Okay. I'm gonna email this to you.
Probably take a few minutes.
Nope. Well, with your email, probably.
I really don't have
Jen.
any idea what exactly pictures she's sending.
I know, right? Isn't that cool?
So I'm a little, I have a little bit of the fear and trepidation thing going.
Why?
No telling what you're going to send. Crazy Cat Queen, if possession is 2/3 of the ownership, the bank owns my money. You're not far off. Not far off.
Close, but not quite.
Quad E, I like the $100 wallpaper. Probably not a bad use for it sometimes. Okay, let's see here. Let me get this.
I mean, I have so many, but I'm just going to send those two.
I've got to save it first.
Oh,
And
geez.
then
I know I have more. I just don't know where they are.
well,
What?
now I'm wondering where I saved it. Save as a picture.
Two.
Click on
Downloads?
desktop so I know where it is. LN1. Save. Y'all gonna love this.
Mm-hmm.
Now all I have to do is find StreamYard here and all this.
It's up there. I see it.
How
There we
about
go.
that? That was our view leaving the island with the tow truck that we had to rent, headed to the ferry that had to make a special trip for us.
Thank God they
So,
did, because we had two mechanics come by and try to fix the truck.
oh yeah,
And they were like, yeah, you're screwed.
in the rain. Nice people,
Great people. Thank God for
great
them.
people, and they made really an honest effort to try to figure out what the problem was and see what they could find, and nothing. And then you have the second one.
That's day two. I was happy. He was like, yeah, fuck off. And Tallulah was wet because she
Yeah,
followed me
the
into the
little
ocean.
fur ball right there in the middle, that's Tallulah, bundled up, trying to dry her out.
She followed me into the ocean. Clay clearly did not go into the ocean. But she's a little swimmer, man. She can swim
I
like a pollywog.
Yeah, I was wet enough. I had spent enough time in the water inside the tent.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, a couple of
Second date, man. That's what we get.
interesting second date. That takes the cake. All right. We introduced the idea of who owns your money. So let's talk about it.
It's not you.
Do what now?
And I said it's not you yourself. And
Oh,
Crazy Cat Queen, you are meh, sorta, kinda, right?
I have no idea what's going on.
Crazy
I,
Cat Queen said if possession is 2/3 of ownership, the bank owns my money. Well, not really.
yeah, we talked about that
Close.
about 5 minutes ago.
Sorry, I was looking at photos and I'm hot. So
Okay, I understand.
welcome to my world.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Um, Money, owning money. Who owns? Well, when you think of ownership, you think of something that you can control the disposition of, something you can use as you want, when you want, how you want it. But it turns out, increasingly, in a number of places around the world, that you can't do that. And there's a pretty sizable movement to try to limit that everywhere. So let's talk about it. Now, money. Let's define money. Make sure everybody understands what we're talking about, money. Remember, we talked about it some with Bitcoin. Carl Menninger's definition. Now, Carl Menninger was the father of the Austrian School of Economics. Brilliant guy, 1870s, somewhere around that era. And he gave us the definition of money: something that's saleable, Saleable meaning you can exchange it for goods or services,
Hang on.
easily exchanged.
Hang on.
S-
Clay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you saying SALEABLE or SELLABLE, or am I misunderstanding?
SALABLE. Saleable.
Saleable.
Can be
Okay.
easily exchanged for goods and services. People will take it for goods and services. Second definition would be second requirement is that it's a store of value. It has saleability across time. That would this simply means that it has the ability to carry value into the future. So if I earn some amount of money, like $1 today, I can wait a week or a month and still purchase $1 worth of goods and services. It holds its value over some period of time. The longer, the better. And it needs to be scalable. By scalable, I mean that it can be broken down into smaller units, and those small units still hold their pro rata share of value. For example, the dollar can be broken down into pennies. But if I take an equivalent amount of pennies, 100 pennies, I can buy the same goods or services that I can with $1. So those three requirements, it's saleable, it's store value, and scalable. Okay. That's the specific definition of money. So most people think when we talk about money, we simply are talking about the dollar or the euro. But I just want you to keep in mind that the definition includes those, but can be much more expansive, and that'll be more important as we continue on. Now, ownership, like I said, implies control. You can dispose of the property any way you want to, when you want, as long as it doesn't injure somebody else. So, what if government regulations impede your ability to enter into transactions with others for no cause? You're not a felon. You're not engaging in uh, some dark, crime. They can impede your ability to transact with others for no other reason than their. What if they force you to be cut off from others or even cut off from your money? Can they
Here,
do that?
Clay, you cut off in there for a minute for me. I'm not sure if the rest of them heard it, but it was I missed a lot of that last sentence.
Sorry about that. Speaking of cut off, I was talking about what if the government or the bank, can be either one, can force you to be cut off from your money. Can they do that? Yes, they can. And they have in many instances.
Hey, what if you're
For
not,
example,
what if you haven't stolen it? What if you inherited it or you earned it? They can still cut it off?
yes. For example, let's take a look at when it's happened. In Canada, many of you will remember the Canadian truckers' strike back in February of 22. Starting somewhere around the 16th, the government instructed banks to freeze the accounts of thousands of people, rendering them unable to access their money and buy food, gas, pay bills. They could do nothing. Their credit cards didn't work, couldn't write checks, couldn't go to the ATMs, couldn't walk in the bank branches and get their money. It was all frozen. And these were simply truckers and even donors, people that gave $20. For example, we oftentimes use PayPal or Venmo. So if you sent the truckers fund $20 using Venmo, your bank account would be one of the ones that would be frozen. And so you had no access to your money or any way to exchange money. That's one example. Another example, and kind of alluded to this in the past about the European Central Bank, the European Union, instituting cash controls. making it illegal to spend more than, for example, 1,000 euros. Now, the European Central Bank President Lagarde was talking about the push for a digital currency and was talking about they would limit spending to 1,000 euros. And if you spent more than that in cash and they found out about it, you would be liable to pay a large fine or even go to jail. Here, she's talking about it.
You got to turn your audio on for your share. No one can hear it.
It is.
It's not heard.
Can't hear it. It's too weak.
You can't hear it at all. No, you need to go back and try it again with audio. Hey, Carrie Berry's mom. If any of y'all, KP is not here tonight because
They don't want to be controlled.
Here we go.
They don't want to.
Can you hear that now?
Yeah, but you know what?
Mhm.
The sound is
Now
faint.
we have in Europe this threshold above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do, you are on the gray market. So you take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail. But
Problem is they don't want to be controlled.
So there she is saying that, basically revealing her hand that they, as they move to a digital currency, they want people to use the digital currency. They want them to get away from cash. Okay. Crazy Cat Queen. Phew. Caught up to live. Glad to have you. So why the push to a digital currency? I mean, some countries in Europe are already limiting cash expenses. France, Spain already limit expenses to 1,000 euros.
How can you limit what someone can spend? How is that ethical?
When you're the government, does ethical have a lot to do with it?
Well, I mean, we're talking about a week or two ago about how, if Social Security, if those of us who are now would take that money and actually invest it, and the government would make us invest it, they said, hey, 401k or Social Security or whatever, pick one. But this is where it's going. Okay, fine. But when they start limiting what you can spend on any and everything, that's quite a bit of overreach. Does this go back to the WEF?
Headed that way. Hold on.
Okay.
The Banque de France. Here here's the requirements. Cash transactions must not exceed certain limits. 1,500 maximum salary or advance of salary payable in cash. 1,000 euros, almost said pounds. 1,000 euros maximum cash payments by individuals resident in France for tax purposes or for professional activity.
Clay.
So they've
make it
already
bigger?
started instituting
that-
some cash limits.
Helen,
Ellen?
can you make that bigger? It's hard to see on and there are lots of little arrow things moving around. There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Better?
Mhm.
So excuse me. Cash transactions must not exceed certain limits. 1,500 euros, maximum salary or advance. 1,000 euros, cash payments by individuals for taxes or for professional activity. So you can't pay people more than the limits in cash for salaries or professional activities, businesses primarily. Now, that's not an all-encompassing requirement, but it's a start. Other
I
countries,
I got questions. So
okay,
if I, because I've done this before, was hired um, to do hair and makeup for a wedding, a party
hypothetically speaking,
of course, hypothetically, it was on my taxes. We're good. Um, of I think there were 18 people. I think I did makeup on 4 and hair on all of them, and I was paid over $2,000. So in cash. So that would be illegal.
yes, if you were in France being paid in euros, or Italy, or Portugal, Belgium limits to 3,000, Greece limits it to 500. But the idea is a lot of countries are starting to institute cash limits.
That's a good
They
point,
want
Carrie
to
Berry's mom.
discourage the use of cash. Carrie Berry's mom, what happens when there's a natural disaster and no power? How are you going to deal with all digital? They don't allow exclusions. There's not any exclusion here. So that's a good question.
It is a good question. And
That's
during Florence, I'm sorry, I
No,
was
go
one
ahead.
of the only of my friends who actually took out about $3,000 in cash because I was like, power's going to be off for a long time. Food's not going to be available unless there is a, cash pay gas station. You can't pay electric unless they have like a generator that also is like hooked up to the internet and all the things. You're screwed. I had millionaire friends of mine borrow a few $100s from me. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You didn't think of cash. So it's a
Yeah.
very good point.
And it gets worse. Our closest ally traditionally has been the UK, normally a country that's noted for, great respect or regard for, freedom, liberty, whatever. Well, now we see the UK joining in. And some of you may recognize the name Nigel Farage. He led one of the major British political parties, UKIP, and was a driving force in securing and getting Brexit passed, the exit of Britain from the European Union. A lot of Britons were tired of paying the taxes to the European Union and the regulations they were imposing upon Great Britain. Felt like they could do better on their own. So they voted to leave the Union. Well, Farage was the guy that headed that up, was the face of it, so to speak. Well, recently he found himself cut off from banking services, along with hundreds of other politicians, generally conservatives, because they are PEPs, PEPs, politically exposed persons. So
Exposed how?
they're controversial.
Oh, they don't agree with I gotcha.
Yeah, the government, or they take positions that are contrary to certain people's preferences, or may have some exposure to some liability because they're politicians. I'm not really sure about that.
Let me
I
give a
didn't
spoiler
dig
alert.
into the PEP requirements a whole lot.
Let me
But
give a
it's kind of an
spoiler alert.
extension of the European Central Union's money laundering, which you think, hey, everybody's against money laundering. Should be.
Yeah.
But a lot of these requirements and rules can be written so vague that they can oftentimes be used way beyond what was initially imagined. Crazy Cat Queen.
Oh.
I don't trust the government to take care of electronic anything. No way we can go to electronic money only.
We're going there.
We're going there. We may not have a choice. We probably are not going to have a choice. Let me just rephrase that one more time. We're not going to have a choice. So Farage has just raised hell about it on Twitter and, you know, every news station. He was a former broadcaster, so he still has a fair amount of access to the media. And he's been raising hell about it. The last I saw, as of a few days ago, he had been turned down by 9 separate banks. So he has been effectively debanked. Okay. He has no bank. Now
he says
he's
that means, he says, he's like, how do you have an identity if you don't have a bank? How, if you can't exchange, we can't hear that, but if you can't exchange funds in the marketplace, you're not really a person, like, because you have no identity.
Here he is.
Hello there. Now, you would think, in the light of this, that I'd be pretty happy. I mean, you know, News Presenter of the Year, the Trick Awards was pretty cool, and a massive thanks to all of those people out there that voted for me. The establishment were, of course, appalled because they, in their little London bubble, think that I'm incredibly unpopular. Well, in Notting Hill, I might be, maybe not quite so, in the rest of the country. But actually, truth is, I'm not full of the joys of spring. I've been living with something for the last couple of months that may well fundamentally affect my future career going on from here, and whether I can even stay living in this country. I have been with the same banking group since 1980. I've had my personal accounts with them since that date, and my business accounts right through the 1990s, when I worked in the City of London, and in recent years too. I'm with one of the subsidiaries of this big banking group, one with a very prestigious name, but I won't name them just yet. I got a phone call a couple of months ago to say, we are closing your accounts. I asked why. No reason was given. I was told a letter would come which would explain everything. The letter came through and simply said, we are closing your accounts. We want to finish it all by a date, which is around about now. I didn't quite know what to make of it. I complained. I emailed the chairman. A lackey phoned me to say that it was a commercial decision, which I have to say, I don't believe for a single moment. So I thought, well, there we are. I'll have to go and find a different bank. I've been to 7 banks, actually. Asked them all, could I have a personal and a business account? And the answer has been no in every single case. There is nothing irregular or unusual about what I do. The payments that go in and come out every month are pretty much the same. I maintain in my business account quite a big positive cash balance, which I guess with interest rates where they are, is pretty good for the bank too. So why is this happening to me? Well, one explanation is this. A few years ago, the European Union came up with a definition of somebody called a PEP, a politically exposed person. Now, this could range from anybody from a prime minister down to a local councillor. I think the reason for it was, you know, were people in politics open to bribery? Could foreign governments from Ukraine or China or wherever else it may be, could they be pumping money into the, you know, the accounts of corrupt politicians? So I kind of understand that and get that. But it's all about interpretation, isn't it? And what the banks argue is that to maintain an account for a politically exposed person gives them increased costs of compliance. Now, I have spoken to the city minister in this country, and there is some hope that this EU definition, which came into British law, may be moderated in some way. We'll have to see. But of course, any bank, any organization can choose to interpret a PEP and whether they want the account in any way they choose. To my knowledge, I don't think anybody has been treated like me in the world of politics. But then the banks, you see, themselves are part of the big corporate structures in this country. These are the organizations who did not want Brexit to happen. And I think in my case, probably the corporate world will never, ever forgive me. Because they know if I hadn't done what I did with the help of thousands of people in our people's army, there never would have been a referendum, let alone a victory. I'm the one that is to carry the blame. So that's the second possible reason why.
So there he is explaining, and as of a week or two ago, he had tried 9 and entered into negotiations with 9 different banks and been turned down by all 9. So this was as of June the 29th. He's still trying to find a bank to handle his money transaction. Crazy cat queen. It's already going there. What's the legislation on this, and who in Congress is working on such a fiasco? I've looked at the transcript of them questioning SBF and FTX, and the questions were ridiculous. They really are. And the beautiful thing is that this effort is not really originating in Congress. It's originating in the administration, in the White House, the Treasury, and the Federal Reserve.
How's that a beautiful thing?
Yeah. And then we'll talk about that in
Okay.
just a second. So looking at Nigel's situation, it begs the question, can you function without a bank account in today's world? Is this, I kind of wonder, is this the ultimate form of cancel culture?
I got a question though.
Sure.
Can he access the funds he has in his account, or is it still tied up in the bank?
They liquidated all of his funds.
So he has like a check?
Yes.
And he can't cash that anywhere?
No.
Well, so they still have his funds?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird little deal. So, how do you pay bills without being able to use checks or electronic transfers?
Cash.
How do I pay Amazon? How do I pay my car payment?
You can't.
I can't. I have a PO box, so I could stuff cash in an envelope and mail it, to New York. Who wants to do that to pay their bills?
No
What
one.
you want to bet that doesn't get all credited to your account? Should people lose the real question is, should people lose access to the financial system because of their political views?
Mm-mm. This is America. The right to free speech, right to bear arms, right to press, right to all the things. Whatever religion you have, good for you, do it. Now, if you start taking people's money away, that is an issue.
Yeah, and
by the way, Crazy Cat Queen, thank you for your service.
Absolutely, friend. I want to say that's brother-in-law's friend has been trying to not have a bank. I won't say it's not impossible if you can do everything
in cash
locally, and if you don't have to have a loan. Unless you can borrow money from your local bank, go down there and make the payments. But then most banks require you to have
an account,
a bank account. And to get a loan, they require credit history, which is having prior relationships with banks and lenders, credit cards. So I won't say it's not possible to do if you try it from the start, but once you've got a sizable business, sizable bills, you can't do it without a bank.
Okay.
He thought his Venmo transactions wouldn't get noticed to be taxed. Yeah, they did pass a law, $600. So, and you can't use Venmo without a bank because it has to come in and be deposited to a bank account. They don't handle cash.
Nope.
Crazy Cat Queen.
I'm trying. There we go.
Actually, I don't think credit cards and such will actually allow cash payments. I mean, you can survive on cash only, but that means getting paid in cash and rent, electricity, water, survival only. Exactly. I mean, if you've got the water company, the power company, et cetera, all local, you can go pay them in cash. They normally have a cashier's window. They may not continue that for long though, as fewer and fewer people use cash. Don't know. There's no guarantee. There's no requirement that they, I was going to say there's no requirement that they use cash. But I think actually the law states that the dollar, the currency, is legal tender for all debts, public and private. So now, would that be changed if they go to an electric currency, a digital currency? I think it would probably have to.
Okay, Carrie Berry's mom, we're going to get into something a little bit political here. So we love everyone, no matter what you think or believe or what your political affiliations are. Okay, go ahead.
Who?
You.
I don't know who.
To this question.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to answer it.
No.
Who gets to judge whether I'm entitled to a bank account? What makes them so superior?
I wouldn't be as kind as you're going to be.
The ones who gets to judge are the banks and the government regulators, the people in the Treasury Department, the people in the White House. It's the golden rule. He who owns the gold makes the rules. He who makes the laws controls the rules. And like we just saw with Nigel, they took a clause out of a money laundering law and applied it to him. Now, to me, that's whimsical. But he has no recourse.
He was for Brexit. He supported it. He called it and kind of encouraged it. And once it happened, they turned on him.
Yeah, because they had a situation where they handled a lot of transactions on behalf of European Union and import transactions. They lost some business because of it. They lost some client money, some deposits because of it.
So essentially, Clay, if I'm getting this right, have to agree with the larger social /government order to not be screwed with.
Define screwed. I would say if you do, you're screwed, but if you don't, you're screwed as well. Now, there is a big push to move everyone to a digital currency, a central bank digital currency, a CBDC, a cashless society. I just saw this.
Nope.
Shoot. Why did I think it was at 8? Lady in Black. Glad to have you, regardless of what time.
Hey, Lady in Black.
Crazy Cat Queen. My hubs is paid by Venmo-ish system for private coaching. He's a bowling coach. And I am not looking forward to doing taxes when I have to dig through all bank statements for each payment. LOL. I think Venmo is going to come to your rescue because I think they're going to 1099 you for all
after
cash
600
receipts. Yeah, above 600. Now, if you're going to have to break those out between personal and professional, I think that's going to be on you, but they'll probably have a ledger of all the transactions, I would imagine.
Okay, Clay, how does this fit in? I know that in the past, at least when I was growing up, hey, y'all, Lady in Black. Glad you're here. You could get a I don't call it donation, but if someone gave you $10,000, right?
Right.
That was non-taxable in 1 year.
Right.
So does
that still
that
applies. I'm not sure of the exact limit, but that's a gift. They have to declare that gift on their taxes. It
Okay.
goes against their estate tax exemption, I believe. Maybe not. Anyway, they have to declare it. So if
There's
they
a lot
don't
of like
declare it,
blurry lines here. A lot of blurry
well, it
lines.
depends on whether they're making you a gift or whether you're performing services. If you're performing services, you're being paid for those services. They can't declare that a gift.
Okay, devil's advocate. Let's say someone, and I would never recommend anyone do this. I have never done it. This is just a example of a what if. Let's say you're paying someone to do a service, but it's under $10,000, and you put, when you send them Venmo or whatever, gift. How does that mean? Do they come after you? How does that work out?
I mean, I don't know exactly the technical details, how it's all going to work out. I can just talk I can't, detail anybody's unique situation. All I can tell you is that anything over $600 in Venmo, you're going to get 1099, and it's up to you to report it or not report it. If you don't report it, the IRS may come knocking and want a detailed list of why you didn't report it and what you were receiving the money for.
And they have hired so many more people recently.
Yeah. Supposed to hire a total of 80,000 over the next few years. So don't,
I don't think so, Crazy Cat Queen.
No.
That's just a loan.
No. I'll frack. I had to borrow $5,000 from my dad recently. I'm planning on paying it back in a couple months, but it was an emergency loan. Am I going to have to declare that as an income? No, what you probably need to do is just get a piece of paper and sign a loan agreement with your dad. And then you've got that in your records if you get audited 5 years down the road.
And it can be just totally like, I'm lending my daughter $5,000.
Yeah. And it can be an interest-free loan.
Mm-hmm.
But, and it'll be just say it's a balloon loan payable in, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. And at whatever time you choose, if you can't repay it, you just do another loan.
Or you can do if he decides to forgive you of it, like I said, you still get $10,000 a year
in a gift. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If he wants to end up gifting it to you, then that's totally fine.
Quad E, what happened with Brexit? I thought it was still in limbo. Did England officially leave? Yes, they had a referendum and the vote was approved. A lot of people were surprised. They thought no's would carry it. But England has left the EU. And I mean, there's still some, like Scotland wanted to stay in the EU because they were getting, I think it was $18 or $19 million a year in agricultural subsidies from the EU. And I don't think the UK has picked that tab up. So there's still some divisiveness in the UK about it. Some people still want to go back to the EU. Some people are thinking it's a good thing we're away. So it's still an issue. People still have memories. Carrie Berry's mom, I'm selling our boat. I'm not taking anything but cash, just not to deal with any issues.
I don't blame you. I know I'm more of the liberal side of the tax issue than maybe Clay is. But yeah, it's just not worth it.
Now, I will say this, if you deposit large amounts of cash all at once in your banking account, checking account, the bank will report you to the IRS. They'll send notice to the IRS. And I think it used to be $10,000. I'm not sure if it has dropped,
It's 600 now.
but
It's 600. Anytime you deposit 600 or more, then they send it to the IRS. So
well, I knew that was on Venmo. I'm not sure that's
no,
deposits
it
to
is.
your.
It is. It is.
Okay.
That was passed.
Ellen seems pretty
And
confident in that. I'll take her word
I'm
for it.
very confident. Yeah.
But you should
I'm not
definitely Google it or check with your bank before you deposit the money.
I'm not telling you what to do.
No,
And this is not
you
good
know,
tax advice, but if someone gives you cash and it's not traceable, spend it on groceries. Spend it on day-to-day stuff.
hypothetically speaking, it would be
Hypothetically.
possible for somebody to
He's going
spend
to
it.
yell at me after this
Now, the
tonight.
thing on your boat, you're probably selling it for less than you bought it.
Mhm.
You didn't deduct the boat as an expense. I'm thinking it was just personal use. So the income from it shouldn't be taxable. And you probably sold it for less than you paid for it. So I don't think there's any real tax consequences from that. It's just that
No.
if you deposit a large sum of money, you may have to fill out some forms and that kind of thing. So
It's like Candace Owen says, like, you don't get my cash. It's just not going to happen. But I know I am a rogue, and I am a worst person to talk to about these things because,
yeah, and depending on the cash, you may want to invest some of it. So you may need to put it in the bank and then transfer it to your investment accounts. Whatever. You may want to put some of it in an IRA, whatever. So you may need to deposit some, but just check out the rules and the requirements just so you can avoid any confusion or any run-ins with the IRS. The IRS just isn't a cool organization to, I don't know. Some people might enjoy going to the proctologist, but that's the closest I can think to going through an audit.
True.
Crazy Cat Queen. Got it. Thanks. I'm an only child, so everything comes to me anyways, but I hate thinking that way and would rather pretend I'm an adult from time to time. Well, we'll vouch for you. We'll be glad to tell anybody that you're an adult from time to time.
Well, Crazy Cat Queen, I'm done adulting. I'd rather be a mermaid. So, why not?
What if there are capital gains? Boats can increase in value. Ours did.
Ooh, what kind of boat?
Did you?
Yeah.
That's
thank you.
interesting. Did you hold it? Did you hold it as an investment?
Okay,
Did you
yours.
buy like I've seen some old teak runabouts.
They're so pretty.
Yeah, they're just dead sexy. And, something like that, if you bought it as an antique, the IRS would probably argue that you were holding it in expectation of
Making money off of it.
making money, future gains, profits. That would be an investment.
But it's $250 per person and $500 per couple capital gains taxes. Or am I wrong on that?
No.
What
Those
is it?
don't matter. There's no capital gains is just a owning an asset for more than 6 months, and the gain on it is considered long-term capital gains. If you hold it less than 6 months and there's a gain on it, it's called short-term capital gains. It's a capital asset, an asset you
But the
hold for investment.
tax on it, there is a limit to what you can. There are some that, at least this is what I was taught in economics, that if you are a single person and you get this much from, let's say, a stock or a property or whatever, then that doesn't get taxed if you go ahead and reinvest it.
No. Not
They
true.
lied to me. They
I
lied.
don't know what
I
they
was
exactly
lied to.
told you, but that's not true. And
Okey-dokey.
I'm not here trying to give you tax advice or say that, you know, exactly how the IRS review it. That's why I would just be careful in whatever you do, you know, ask some questions or ask a tax accountant or somebody who you could even Google it. The IRS has information sites
I'm Googling it right now.
and see what they say. Bought and sold cash only, no bank deposits. Hypothetically speaking, then, you know, if you weren't certain of future needs for cash and you wanted to keep some of it, you know, you could make just a smaller deposit. And then if you grew more confident or comfortable, you could make another small deposit later. You know, you may want to keep some in a coffee can, just keep some cash around for emergencies. But do a little research on that first. Lady in black. I'm a tax pro. That's why I asked. Former Canadian government employee. Yeah, and really, me talking about Canadian taxes, I'm in the blind. I'm a little more familiar with American, but Canadian, I freely admit, I'm blind.
Okay, let me read this to you. Okay, here's how it can work. A single taxpayer who purchased a house for $200,000 and later sells his house for $500,000 had made a $300,000 profit on the sale. After applying the $250,000 exemption, the person must report a capital gain of $50,000.
Ellen,
There's
that's
a
a house.
250 exemption.
Ellen, that's a house. That's not a.
It's
Doesn't
personal
apply to all-
property, such as a
That's
home.
a house. That's a house.
It says such as a home. He's.
So yes, let's steer away.
We'll
from
talk about this later.
Yeah, let's steer away from specific tax advice here. Just to be chill.
Yeah.
Now, we're talking about the digital currency. Brazil has been pilot testing a digital currency, central bank digital currency. And there's a guy by the name of Pedro, and I know I'm going to screw up this name, Magalhães. He's a blockchain guy, blockchain developer, and he claims to have reverse engineered Brazil's application of blockchain for their CBDC. And he found code in it that would allow accounts to be frozen or drained at will. Now, when confronted with it, a representative for Brazil's central bank stated that, that will allow accounts to be, that will give the central bank control to stop bank runs, salvaging the bank from being drained of all of its funds and liquidity. Now, the rep completely ignored other applications, such as collecting taxes at the central bank's discretion, or it's possible to give these tokens, these coins, these digital coins, tokens, an expiration date to force you to spend them. Now, we were talking about money is a store of value. Well, what if you're paid in digital tokens and after 3 months they expire? You know, talk about a store of value. Clay, how long do you have to hold on to past income tax returns? I thought the IRS could only go back 5 years.
forever
Um,
if you've committed fraud.
yeah, there's no time limit on fraud. I think the regular one is 5 or 6 years. I forget exactly. I keep mine normally about 7 just to be safe. But I think it's 5 years. I think you're right on that. My husband's coworker had the IRS knock on his door to review 8 years past. The individual was an entrepreneur. I mean, I think they can only do that if they have some evidence of fraud. Won't swear to that, but that's my impression. There's no statute of limitations on fraud. Lady in Black, 7 in Canada. So, and I don't know. I know some of our viewers are in the UK or other countries. Obviously, I can't answer that. But Brazil's CB. So you can collect taxes. You can give the tokens an expiration date. You're forcing the individuals to spend them whether they want to or not. Spend them or lose them.
But you can't spend them on certain things.
It's possible. That's possible too. For example, if you have a digital currency, you'll probably store it in your phone or have an app that accesses it in your phone. Well, they'll also be able to geotag that account, and they may say you have to spend this within a 5-mile radius of your house. Remember the WEF talking about you'll never need to leave your house? So if you leave your house, you can't spend the money. How cool would that be?
Well, the Brazilians, you can't really trust them, though.
Well, we're just talking about theoretically with digital coins.
Okay.
You know,
I
other
get
things a
you. Go
cashless
ahead.
society would mean, it would kill the tooth fairy. You know, you leave a little money under your kids' pillows, kill the tooth fairy.
You just send it to their phone.
That would kind of suck. Again, no tooth fairy. You can only buy or transact business when you have electricity or your phone is charged up. How many times have you run an errand or wanted to go do something and you find out your phone's dead? Well, you're in the middle of trying to do your errands, your phone dies, you have to, not do it. No kids' lemonade stands unless the kid has a credit card reader. No gifts to the homeless. You throw change in a tip jar. Nope, not going to do that anymore. They'll know where you are. They'll know what you spend on. And as Ellen mentioned, they can stop you from spending at certain stores or buying certain things like ammo or contributing to certain causes. A truckers' strike, for example. Now, babysitting. You can't pay cash in babysitting. Yeah, we really need to tax all the 13, 14-year-olds who are babysitting, for their babysitting receipts. They definitely need to file a tax return.
They're making bank.
Yeah, but if a kid's willing to work, who cares if they don't pay some taxes or file a tax return? Now, I mean, you've got a certain limit you've got to make before you have to file tax returns. So I'm being a little bit excessive here. But just the idea of the government knowing everything you buy, when you buy it, and having the ability to disapprove of it. No illegal drugs.
Not even legal drugs.
I don't think it'll hurt illegal drugs because that would put half of DC in a state of DT.
I mean, they did just find cocaine at the White House. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Trust me, there'll be an exemption or a way to get around that.
How would Hunter
that won't
survive?
Be tracked. Now, we talked about this would be from Toots, I believe. What about checks? Did I miss that? Checks will be passe. If we go to a digital currency, cashless society, there won't be any checks. It'll be all electronic. So you'll either use a card, your phone, or some app, your bank app, to transfer money, pay bills, etc.
1984, you're very right, Carrie Berry's mom. That's about what we're about to go to.
And, you know, we were talking about the WEF earlier. Well, here is Cornell professor Edward Passer.
Before you do that,
said we are at the cusp of physical currency essentially disappearing.
Before you do that, real quick.
Yeah.
I will make sure the volume's playing, but you know, Talia didn't go potty earlier. I need to take her out.
Okay.
She's been a little drugged up today on Benadryl because she's got itchy spots. You okay? I will let you know if you can hear it.
The one final note I will make is that if you think about the benefits of digital money, there are huge potential gains. It's not just about digital forms of physical currency. You can have programmability, you know, units of central bank currency with expiry dates. You could have, as I argue in my book, a potentially better and some people might see it, or a darker world where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable, like, say, ammunition or drugs or pornography or something of the sort. And that is very powerful in terms of the use of a CBDC, and I think also extremely dangerous for central banks. Because ultimately, if you have different units of central bank money with different characteristics, or if you use central bank money as a conduit for economic policies in a very targeted way, or more broadly for social policies, that could really affect the integrity of central bank money and the integrity and independence of central banks. So there are wonderful notions of things that can be done with digital money. But again, I fear that technology could take us to a better place, but equally has the potential to take us to a pretty dark place.
And I mean, you know, what he says makes some sense, particularly if you're a central banker. You may want or see that CBDC is inevitable, but you'd rather not have a lot of the functionality that we've just been discussing. Flip side is politicians, regulators, government officials, bankers. What do you think they want control? Do you think they want to encourage certain behaviors, certain spending habits? Do you think they want to encourage stimulating the economy? So, you know, some interesting comments, some interesting ideas. IMF, the International Monetary Fund, Deputy Director Bo Li. Now, this guy was a former governor for the Chinese Central Bank, the Communist Party Central Bank, who touted a digital currency as, he stated that by programming digital currency, money can be precisely targeted for what kind of people can own and what kind of use this money can be utilized. That's a direct quote. His English is a little rough, but it's a hell of a lot better than my Chinese. He also talked about service providers can use transactional data to underwrite credit for social scoring. China's moving in a big way to social scoring. You know, they're looking at how many coffees do you drink a day, where you get coffee, do you use Uber, what services do you use? Financial services providers can use this to give you a credit score, but also government officials can use it to give you a social credit score. Are you spending money in the right way according to their policies? Whatever those policies are. Carrie Berry's mom, I'm still worried about hackers. I worry that digital will make it easier for them. It's possible. It's possible that, you know, your credit cards are stolen or hacked. Digital currency will actually be a little safer, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just about impossible to hack. The way that Bitcoin can be stolen is that if you're careless with your password or your key is a 26 alphanumeric code. So if somebody gets that, they have access to your entire account. That's the risk, that you don't guard that or protect that. If somebody steals your phone and you don't have your app sufficiently protected, password protected, then they can go into your app, transfer the money. So there are some risks. There's always risk in financial transactions or trying to carry value forward in the future. Gold. A lot of people recommend holding gold, whether it's in coins or bullion. That can be stolen. If you look at the U.S. gold deposit, it's generally at the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a pretty secure place, or Fort Knox. And what guards Fort Knox? I mean, you've got the 10th Armored Division. So you've got a division consisting of 10 to 12,000 troops and 600 to 800 tanks. There's a reason why nobody's ever tried to knock over Fort Knox, even though there's billions of dollars there. So you've got central banks pushing this. You've got the WEF, the Great Reset, pushing this. You've got the International Monetary Fund pushing this. That's not all. The BIS, Bureau of International Settlements, another international financial organization. Their hub director, Cecilia Skingsley, stated, "Privacy and anonymity are tricky issues, but it's worth it to sacrifice a little privacy for security." Anytime I see those words, sacrifice something for security, I think of Benjamin Franklin's quote: "Those who would surrender liberty for security end up having neither." But BIS, big, powerful organization. IMF, big, powerful organization. WF, big, powerful organization. Central banks, European Central Bank, American Central Bank, Chinese Central Bank, big, powerful organizations. A lot of influence, a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. So digital currencies allow a social scoring system where the government to surveil, coerce, and control behavior however they want, whatever their particular whimsy or priorities are. And, remind me of the times when government doesn't avail itself of increasing power. Now, I'm admit, I'm probably a little bit more on the cautious side in that regard than a lot of people. But if you think about it down through history, government has almost always sought to increase its influence, control, and power. It's how they get rich. I mean, you've got people going to D.C. who are poor, lower class, middle class in 4, 5, 6 years. They're multimillionaires on both parties. I'm not just indicting one party, but I think AOC, she went up there. She couldn't afford rent her first month. She had to sleep in her office. A lot of reps sometimes do. Now, 4 years later, she's worth, what was it, $11 million? How the hell does that happen? And if you're a government official and you can do it and you believe in the causes, why wouldn't you use your abilities to promote the causes you believe in? Why wouldn't they seek, for example, to mitigate climate change and promote DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion? Well, in March, President Biden issued an executive order ordering the Treasury Department to study this issue and get back to him in 180 days with a report on establishing a digital currency. In his executive order, he mentioned inclusion and equity 5 times. He mentioned climate change 4 times. So do you think those may be a priority in terms of structuring how the currency works? So the Treasury has to produce a report 180 days from March. So it's got another couple months left. And from that report, expect the Treasury to produce a bill to create a digital currency within 200 days. Carrie Berry's mom, I would think this might hurt campaign money donations. Maybe you don't want someone to know who you are donating to, or the bank doesn't think you should donate to them. It might hurt. You know, I could see where it does hurt individual contributions, or people are hesitant to go against the political preferences of their bank. But the banks and other big corporations will step up and provide the funding. Individuals have kind of gotten squeezed out of funding elections in a lot of ways, increasingly over the years. Now, some people blame this on what's the case? I'm trying to remember the Supreme Court case. Can't think of the name of it. But it allowed corporations to contribute to political campaigns. And I don't have a problem with that. Corporations are just people. Just like unions. Unions are people. Both of them ought to be able, as a group, if they want to contribute to candidates. The only thing I would like to see different is that any donation a candidate receives, and with the technology available today, this wouldn't be difficult, is that any contribution a candidate receives, he posts it on his website within 24 hours. He also posts a recording of any meetings with lobbyists or somebody, any conversation dealing with campaign contributions or request for voting or influence. That all ought to be disclosed. All of it ought to be disclosed. I don't think the politicians need to take money or make promises in secret. Now, I know it's been done. I know that's the way it works. But I don't have any problem with a politician promising to try to achieve this goal or enact this legislation. I just want it disclosed and let the people decide whether or not that's what they want. Now, so you've got all these powerful people, powerful organizations. I mean, you've got the White House behind it. You've got the Treasury Department behind it. You've got the Federal Reserve behind it, European Central Bank, European Union. You've got the BIS. You've got the IMF. You've got the WEF. You know, I could just go down the list. Isn't it amazing how all the powerful people want this? Why are they all united in wanting this? So I don't have any doubt it's coming. It is coming. In what shape, manner, or form remains to be determined. Now, for the, some of the people will blithely argue that, a digital currency is more efficient and safer and quicker and cheaper. All that is true. And if that's really what you want, then there are digital currencies out there that meet that standard. Bitcoin, Ethereum. There's no need for every government to come up with their own unless they want control. And that's the big deal. They want control. Now, what do they want control of? Just extend that however you want. And Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been in the news lately. Don't know if y'all have seen or tracked it, but for example, BlackRock is creating a Bitcoin ETF. And it's It's really kind of funny to me because the CEO of BlackRock, really not one of my favorite kind of guys. But here's an interesting little perspective on Larry Fink. You know, in 2017, BlackRock CEO, Bitcoin is an index of money laundering. He was calling it worthless. It is of no significant value. Shouldn't be used. Now that they're launching a ETF, his song is completely different. Says Bitcoin could revolutionize finance. So what happened in 6 years to completely change his mind, other than it's something he can sell and make tons of money off of? Now, interestingly, Ellen snuck in behind me.
I did. I had an altercation with our neighbor.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Just think.
We won't cover that right now, but here's the same CEO, BlackRock chairman Larry Fink, saying crypto will transcend international currencies. Transcend international currencies. Dude's in. He's believing it. He's buying it. He's certainly trying to sell it. Lady in Black. I've both had my wallet stolen, got it all back, and my bank card hacked. Bank caught it. I'm more worried about being hacked. You know, that's a legitimate risk. You know, a lot of people probably will be, excuse me, hacked, but the hacking will be because they didn't guard their password enough. The blockchain itself is pretty secure. The only way somebody can move money around is if they have that password. So that's the real key. Carrie Berry's mom. What about local elections? They're the places that affect your daily life. Trash pickup, roads plowed, department staffing. I mean, I really don't think it'll change much about local election. You'll make your gift or contribution electronically. You won't be given cash. Won't use cash. So I don't think it'll really change, you know, a whole lot about non-controversial elections. You know, where it could be is where you've got two diametrically opposed positions like Trump and Biden. And I think it's a fair statement to say that each side holds the other with a fair amount of contempt or concern, distaste. And we've seen some malicious activity from proponents of one side trying to injure or do damage to others, their career, their job, their career, their personal life, whatever. So if it's a controversial election, I think that would be an entirely different situation. You may not want your contributions made public or known. That would be the risk to me, is that it basically would end up stifling free speech. I have a problem with that. Now, so we know BlackRock is starting an ETF. Well, they're not the only one joining the game. There's a huge mutual fund family known as Vanguard, and Vanguard now is buying the hell out of Bitcoin mining stocks. Now, mining is a name given to people who run computers continuously, keeping the ledger of transactions for Bitcoin. And the way that one activity they have in maintaining that ledger is trying to solve an algorithm, a problem, a complex mathematical problem. And the first computer to solve it is rewarded with more Bitcoin. They're paid in Bitcoin. That's how new Bitcoin is created. So that's the competition. I mean, that's the function. So Vanguard is buying these miners because the money is not bad if you do it and do it well. Oh, I was thinking I had another question there. The key about BlackRock entering the Bitcoin market, the key about Vanguard entering the Bitcoin market in a big way is just signaling and showing broader acceptance of Bitcoin. I know a lot of people are hesitant about it, but if you look at it down through the years, there's been broader and broader acceptance of it. And this despite governments trying to kill it. China has outlawed Bitcoin 3 separate times, but it's still big and growing in China. The reason the government hates it is pretty obvious. They can't control it. They can't inflate it. They can't control who spends it or how or where or when. That's, to me, the beauty of it. And to government and central bank officials, that's the evil of it. You decide. Like I say, it's been a big week in crypto. Welcome back, Ellen. Glad to have you join us. It's also a big week in crypto for another few reasons. One, federal judge ruled that another crypto called XRP or Ripple is both unlawfully sold investment contract when sold to VCs, venture capitalists, hedge funds, but perfectly lawful something else when sold anonymously via cryptocurrency exchanges or distributed by employees or by insiders. Now, let me simplify that a little bit. The SEC has been trying to regulate cryptocurrency as a security. So when it's produced or issued, the SEC is trying to hold that that's issuing a security. And so should be done on a regulated basis. You know, companies can't issue securities at a whimsy. They have to get approval from the SEC, all this kind of stuff. Well, obviously the cryptocurrency hadn't been proponents and producers haven't been too excited about that. They, for the most part, I think are agreeable to some regulation or disclosure, but the two sides have been butting heads. Crazy Cat Queen, what is a security? Security is like a stock or a bond. It is an asset bought for, let's just put it in broad terms, an asset bought for investment purposes. You have the expectation of profit. And there's even a test that the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the government regulator here in the country, in the US, that there's a test that they apply to see whether or not something is a security. And it has 3 requirements. It's some form of contract or transaction which meets 3-prong test. First, has the investment of money. 2, it's in a common enterprise. Number of people are buying the same thing. And 3, there's a reasonable expectation of profits arising from the managerial efforts of others. So if you buy a company, you buy it with money, others are buying the stock, and you all expect management's efforts to add value to the company and increase the value of the stock. That's a security. Does that make sense? And that's called the Howey test. And that's what the SEC has been trying to apply to crypto. Well, they tried to stop the issuance of one crypto transactions, XRP, and so took it to court. And the judge said, well, sometimes it's a security, sometimes it's not a security. So it's a little bit of a schizophrenic opinion, and I'm not an attorney, and I don't want to go stepping on anybody in LawTube's toes. You know, love to have one of them on commenting about this. So maybe we need to get a hold of Ian and get him back or something. But the judge said sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And he divided that line depending on whether or not it was sold to an institution or not. So if XRP is issued and sold to an institution, a hedge fund, whatever, it's a security. If it's sold from one person to another, it's not a security. So that's a little conflict there, little inconsistent. Crazy Cat Queen. I thought Bitcoin was just digital money. That makes more sense now why everyone is trying to get in on it. I thought it was way too sketchy. You know, again, remember the definition of money. Saleable across time or store of value, and scalable. Bitcoin is saleable. You can take Bitcoin and exchange it for goods and services around the world. In fact, a lot of the illegal immigrants in this country who work, they prefer to get paid in Bitcoin or will convert theirs money to Bitcoin and then send it to their family in Ecuador, Guatemala, or whatever, who then can take that Bitcoin and spend it or convert it to the local currency or convert it to dollars and spend it then. The advantage of Bitcoin in that case, yes, ma'am.
Can you talk about well, let's do this first. Oh, okay. If y'all will reach out to Rob, he said he will come on here. I know he's going through some stuff right now, but if y'all will encourage him to do so, that would be great. And Ian is great for any viewpoint, in my opinion. He is a very dear friend, a good person, and we love him to pieces. And I was going to say something else, and now hang on. You go ahead. I'll think of it. ADHD does its thing.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Here we go. The very first Bitcoin purchase.
Go ahead.
The pizza guy.
Yeah.
You tell
it.
I don't know the whole story.
Tell
I
it.
just know bits.
No, you tell it. No, you tell
I don't.
Bitcoin was
this. I do not.
Bitcoin was first issued in 2009. Obviously, nobody knew anything about it or whatever. And, you know, a couple of computer geeks worked with Satoshi and agreed to, you know, mine it or whatever, just kind of see what happened to it over time. And one of them decided to see if he could spend it. So he put an ad on a bulletin board saying, I will pay 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas for anybody that is willing to order and have the pizzas delivered to my house. And somebody took him up on it. Now, 10,000 Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin is $30,000. Easy round numbers. So
Best
who's
tip
good
he
at
ever
math?
got.
Who what?
Best tip he ever got.
Yeah, who's good at math? Who knows what that would be worth in today's dollars? And remember, Bitcoin went up to $66,000. Well, right now, that would be worth $300 million. 10 years later, 11 years later, how much did the 2 pizzas cost? $20 back then?
Probably less than that.
How How many investments can you make? $20 in 11 years, it's 300 million. You ever want to go back in time and just think, I could have done that, you know?
You
Crazy
know
Cat
what?
Queen.
No, Crazy Cat Queen. Yeah. He's swamped right now. I know. Ian needs no sleep. That's, I don't know if you watch Twitter, but I was just like, you don't need, what don't you do? He was like, sleep. I was like, all right then. But at the same time, Bitcoin was worth like almost nothing when he
Nobody
bought the
knew about it.
pizzas, and they could have bought them from Little Caesars for like $2.99 a piece
Something like, yeah.
and gotten the biggest tip ever.
So, you know, it's kind of like the attorney that incorporated Apple back in 70, what was that? 78, 79. I don't even remember the exact year, but somewhere around there. When Jobs and Wozniak was just starting Apple and decided they wanted to run it as a corporation, still in the garage. So he charged them his normal fee was $500. So they didn't have much cash. So they gave him 10% of the company. And he ended up selling the stock for, was it $300?
I think so.
Something like that. 10% of the company. 10% of Apple. I think that'll go
That's a
down in
lot of
history
money.
as the worst security trade in history.
Oh, come on.
So, but you know, realistically, what did he know at the time? Knew nothing about computers, had no idea how they would impact people's lives, fortunes. Back then, Jobs and Wozniak were young, snotty-nosed kids. You know, you really looking at these two, thinking, you know, these two hippies are going to change the world, the way the world communicates and does business and lives and breathes. No. So,
But Clay still has the original Mac on his bookshelf, which is in front of him that you can't see. The original Mac with the keyboard, whole nine, still works. All the things. Okay, now Crazy Cat Queen, you got another question. This is just throwing shit in the dark, like a dart. You just, which one? You don't know.
I think there is separation.
How do you?
There's probably over
How do you
2,000
measure
coins.
that? How do you measure that separation?
Well, what's money? It's
It's an
saleable.
exchange. Mm-hmm.
It's saleable. How many of these crypto coins would you accept for goods or services? For example,
Well,
if I wanted an hour's worth of your time, would you take a Bitcoin in exchange for that?
Hell yeah.
That's saleable. If I offered you a Dogecoin or a million Dogecoin, would you take that?
Not sure.
Yeah, no, you probably wouldn't. So, saleable.
But
There's
you and I
only
have both invested in coins that we thought might have some promise, and they did not. I mean, it's hard. The only ones
that's
that I would do is Ethereum and Bitcoin, and that's it.
and Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin isn't a generic name for cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is a specific cryptocurrency. It's a specific coin, like the dollar is different than the euro or the pound or the Canadian dollar. So Bitcoin is a specific cryptocurrency. It was the first. It's kind of the granddaddy, the most widely known, the most widely accepted, and kind of the standard. And Bitcoin is extremely secure and can't be altered. Ethereum takes Bitcoin and allows customization. So you can make contingency clauses with Ethereum. If this happens, then this much is transferred. So Ethereum allows you the ability to do contracts. So there's a couple others that have unique characteristics that may be of value, but primarily those two. Most anybody in the world will take those two coins for goods or services. Crazy Cat Queen. Why aren't these guys anywhere I am? I loan give money to people all the time when they ask. There's like 50,000 just floating around that I've given to former friends, ex-BFs. Yeah, I'm on the
I bet
opposite
Clay has
of
the
that.
same story. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I can name that tune in one note. But the thing is, I've been in a position to help people, and I'm thankful for that. Don't expect repayment. I actually had one lady pay me back
That was kind of
5
cute,
years later,
actually.
and it was about a year ago. And I was just kind of shocked. I went out on my front porch. I'd lent her a book, and inside was the cash. She paid in cash. So it was kind of anonymous. I had to try to remember who I lent the book to. And finally it came to me, and I thought I knew. And so I contacted her and thanked her. But yeah, that's the first person I've had repay me. But I'm thankful that I could help. I've been in a position, had the opportunity to help some people, and I'm thankful for that.
Someday we're going to do a stream on all of your many girlfriends and everything that you've been through to help them,
Yeah,
like
no.
picking up from jail and doing bail and all the things. It's a lot.
That was a student, actually. Former
When
student.
was a girlfriend?
Yeah, we went
Yeah,
out, but it was
yeah.
just, yeah.
No. Okay. See, long and sordid past.
Crazy Cat Queen. So Bitcoin is like a brand name digital money coin. Yes, it is a specific coin. Now, it runs on a computer algorithm called a blockchain. That's the underlying software, so to speak. And Bitcoin is it's called a token or coin. And the algorithm keeps track of how many coins are produced and who owns what coins. Cliff Notes version. So, and the blockchain is immutable. That means it can't be changed or altered or hacked.
Clay teaches cryptocurrency, and there is a video in the past that he's done specifically on how it is mined, why it is mined, who does it, and what is created after it is mined and who gets what. It's pretty interesting, but you can go back in the files and see that one is.
Yeah, we may even, if some of y'all want to take a look at that or whatever, let me know. We can try to update that and extend it with a little bit more current information. So theoretically, one could learn programming to mine Bitcoins. You don't even have to learn programming. The program that runs it is a standard program. You just download it, install it on your computer, and tell it to run. Now, you have to leave your computer on all the time, and it's a computationally complex algorithm, so it is running at full speed all the time. They've actually developed specific computers that do nothing but run this program and algorithm. They have extremely fast chips, huge fans, and keep them in very, very cool warehouses. I mean, they just have shelves of them, rows of them, huge warehouses.
That is something I was going to also put into there is there are people who have like hundreds of computers working on the algorithm at the same time, all the time. Mining Bitcoin the Bitcoin itself is so energy intensive. If everyone is so worried about the state of the world, Bitcoin uses so much energy and emits so much heat. It is ridiculous. Like even, electric cars, where do you get the energy from? Nuclear energy is still the cleanest, most useful energy on the planet. And I will get a lot of hate about that. But still, I mean, there are people that run like hundreds of computers just trying to get the next blockchain and to solve the algorithm.
There are people that run tens of thousands of these mining computers. Now,
I
as
was
far as
trying
the
to be
energy, Ellen's right. It is a very energy intensive process. However, the miners are located where energy is cheap and wasted. For example, there are certain regions in China where they have built dams, hydroelectric dams, that produce a lot of energy, but there's no population, there's no need, there's no grid to disperse it. So the energy is just wasted. So they put these mining operations close to these hydroelectric dams and use energy that would otherwise go to waste. In the US, you've got a lot of oil wells, for example, that sometimes will release methane. And if you go to an oil field, you can see, or a waste treatment facility, you can see a flame that burns 24 hours a day. It's just burning off the excess methane that's produced. Well, miners literally have a cargo container like you see on the ships, cargo ships. They'll take one of these containers and put in rows of these mining machines and a boiler and set it next to this flame and use the heat from that flame to generate steam and produce electricity. So it's generating electricity power that would otherwise be unavailable and unused. So yes, Bitcoin is a very energy intensive process, but the vast majority of miners are located in some place where the energy would otherwise go to waste. They don't locate it in downtown New York or Los Angeles or Atlanta or areas where the power is expensive. For example, here, I think energy is around 17 or 18 cents a kilowatt. The average cost for miners is around 7 or 8 cents. So it's in areas where and that's the average. So they're located in areas where energy is cheap and abundant and would otherwise just go to waste. Crazy Cat Queen. Wait, what? There's a free program that you can run and mine Bitcoins? Oh, yeah, there is. I've got like 2 computers that I don't even use. Should I run those just to see what happens? It might be fun. Now, you'll need
Why
good
not?
fans and cool air because they will heat up. Because they will run at 100% of the chip's speed. And most personal computers don't have that kind of constant load or demand. They'll normally run at 30 or 40% of the chip's capacity.
You can, however, get a like an open. We have one, a lap desk that is open underneath. You can stand up like 2 to 3 feet, and it has a fan that will draw the heat down from the computer. But I've replaced a few heat coils in computers before, but not for that reason.
Yeah, it will. It'll keep them running. And that's why those mining machines are specifically built to run all out with very large fans and cooling devices, and why they're usually in very, very cool rooms. And you see the energy supplies to these roads. I mean, the electrical cables are like this big, massive amounts of energy being used. Crazy Cat Queen agreed. Nuclear energy is much, much better than anything. I think the world's going back to nuclear. That might not be bad stocks to buy. Uranium producers, etc.
Especially with the windmills and all of the waste. When the blades die, when the whatever dies, what do you do with that? And then also the batteries from electric cars. Sorry. Carrie Bray's mom. Hey, honey.
Yeah, I was just going to say good night. Go get your meds prepped. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Sweet dreams, love. You got me off track. I have no idea what I was saying.
Lady in Black. I've been listening as I cleaned cat litter boxes, if I remember correctly. Happy kitties now, though. We're very happy your kitties are happy and very happy you've joined us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of windmills. They are
That's
terribly
where I was
expensive.
going.
It takes them
Yeah.
4 or 5 years to produce enough energy just to recover the energy used in their production. They leak oil constantly. They use, I don't know, 60 gallons of oil a month to lubricate it. And thing I hate most about them, they kill eagles and pelicans, my 2 favorite birds. Eagles, even on the endangered species, just knock the hell out of them. So I hate windmills. I think they're ugly, unsightly. As soon as the tax credits run out, they're allowed to rust and die. Windmills just need to die altogether.
Then you got a bigger problem. Like, what do you do with the actual windmill? It doesn't
They tear it
biodegrade.
down. I mean, they normally leave it there and let it rot. But in cases where they are torn down, they chop them up and they take them out to a landfill. There's one in Wyoming, for example. I mean, the blades are 200 feet long,
Yeah, I know.
made out of fiberglass and whatever. It's just an environmental toxin.
Hey, Crazy Cat Queen. That is also Clay's favorite bird besides the eagle. Pelicans. He loves the pelicans.
I love watching them just cruise over the water, and then all of a sudden they just dive right in. I'm like, boom, get you one. Cool ass
fish.
birds and fish, yeah. And I love eagles too. Eagles to me are just majestic, beautiful creatures.
And Crazy Cat Queen, I feel you on this one. As a woman in her late 40s, yes, I get hot flashes. I don't need computers heating my room up too, especially with the lack of air conditioning that we are experiencing at the moment, which is why my hair is all wet. But yeah, I've been sleeping downstairs because the AC downstairs works. Because why not, right?
And in terms of running the computers, if you're running 2 old personal computers, I don't know that they have enough computing power to give you much chance to solve the algorithm first, considering the competition. But just by participating in maintaining the general ledger, Bitcoin has started paying some fees in addition. They're small, but they're something. So you could start collecting Bitcoin fees just for helping to maintain the ledger, even if you don't actually solve the algorithm.
How does that work? How do you maintain a ledger if you're not?
Okay, well, the ledger is a record of all the transactions. If I send you a Bitcoin, that's a transaction. So the ledger, just like an accounting ledger for a company, keeps track of every coin, every transaction, who owns it, where it's gone, where it's spent.
But not all of it is on the same computer, correct?
Yes, all of it's on the same computer.
Oh, I thought you said it was in different computers. Okay.
No, that's why it's unhackable. Because, like, if you read about somebody hacking into a bank and stealing all the credit cards, it's because all that information is on one computer. And if you are able to enter into that computer, you can access the data, you can change it, move money, or whatever.
That's what I just said.
All you have to do is hack one computer. Well, Bitcoin, that ledger, that same ledger is replicated on about 1 million computers. And there is no way to hack 1 million different computers and change the ledger in every one simultaneously. So if someone gets into one computer, hacks it, changes the ledger on that computer, The other computers in the system see that that ledger no longer agrees with theirs, and they kick it out of the system. It's permanently removed from the system.
Okay.
So there is a penalty for trying to change the ledger. Go on.
So I said before that the ledger is not all on one computer.
It is.
It's on many computers.
The same ledgers on a million computers.
Okay. I'm just saying, that's what I was saying. It's not all contained on one computer.
It is. Everything, that whole ledger is on every computer. A
Right, it's
million
not on
computers
one
hold the
computer.
same ledger.
I said it's the ledger is not on one computer.
Okay. I thought
It's
you
on-
meant it's like divided up in pieces. No,
No, I just said it's
It's
not just on
wholly
one computer.
contained on every computer
Thank you.
times a
Oh, good
million.
Lord. Okay.
That's what makes it unhackable. That's what makes it secure. Not only that, your account, your code is encoded using some of the most sophisticated encoding techniques available 5 separate times. So it's encoded, it's encrypted again, it's encrypted again, it's encrypted again. That's why if somebody just looks at that ledger, all they see is random numbers. They can't tell who owns that Bitcoin or where that Bitcoin went. Now, you can track that Bitcoin through different transactions, but in terms of identifying specifically the individual or business, you can't do that off the blockchain. So it's extremely secure. All transactions are public, but they're all encrypted. The
Gotcha.
account owner is encrypted. Very, very, very securely encrypted. That's why it's unhackable. Unless somebody gets your passkey, which is, like I say, 26 alphanumeric characters. So it's impossible, pretty much statistically impossible to try to guess somebody's, because you've got, what is it, 1 to the 300 million different combinations. So it's statistically impossible for somebody to guess your password. The only way they can access it is to get it from you. Crazy Cat Queen, I'm telling you, get yourself a 5-pound bag of ice, place it in a dish bucket, put a simple fan running to blow the cold air to you. It's actually pretty amazing.
But it's so much easier to go downstairs where it's so much cooler because we have 2 different units. I love the suggestion, and I will probably use that at some point in my life. But right now, just sleeping on the couch is just so much easier. And I was going to say something about something, Clay.
Well, Lady in Black at Crazy Cat Queen. They're
He's
not all
used to
house
this.
cats. We have garage cats, shed cats, barn cats, plus some primarily outside. But we have 40 plus cats. 40 cats.
Clay can hardly
Some are
do
pretty
our one
feral.
cat.
I just did the house and garage now. I think
my
we got the
gosh.
names mixed up. I think we need to have like a Crazy Cat Queen 1 and 2, maybe. I don't know. 40 cats. That's impressive.
Well, Crazy Cat Queen's got 23 house cats. So, I mean, if we're going to do like a. I love the kitties.
23 cats in a 4-bedroom mobile home. So there's Crazy Cat Queen, and then there's
Lady in Black.
Piper. There's Lady in Black. Okay, I'll leave it there. But I'm impressed with both of you that you take care of that many animals. That's very,
Yes.
very kind. That's very
Yes,
cool.
it is. That is incredible. I mean, cats are just the one little species that like nobody loves but me. And y'all, I mean, I had 3 cats at one time, and that was a lot for a single mom with 2 kids. But yeah, kitties are good. And
Yeah,
they're
I kept a cat for a soldier that was going to Iraq for 6 months, and name was Sky, and she was one of the coolest cats ever. She would come when I called her. You know, she would follow me around everywhere. She would go outside for a little bit, normally to do her business or whatever, but she would, you know, stay right on the porch or the front porch or whatever, wouldn't wander around, never got in fights. And, but, you know, if I wanted her, I'd just step outside and call her and she'd pop right up, you know, take her 5, 10, 15 seconds. She was a pretty cool cat. And then Mahoney, the cat now, follows us on walks. So when we take the dogs
everybody
around,
freaks out. They're
Yeah.
like, your cat walks with you too. We're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because why not? She was actually feral, which is weird. I got her at 6 weeks old with her brother that was not her brother, Walter. Walter's entire litter mates and his mom were eaten by a dog, a pit bull. And I love pit bulls. Don't get me wrong. I've had one. They can be very sweet depending upon who raises them. But yeah, I mean, she is just the funniest cat. When she wants to be petted, she will come up and she will not leave you alone until you give her all the love that she wants. Then she's like, see ya. But she, the other day, had Clay and I both, she was scratching on the front door to go out. Clay would let her out. She'd come to the back door and scratch to come in. I'd let her in. And then she went to the front door again. We did this like 4 times. And he's like, why do you keep letting her in? I'm like, why do you keep letting her out? I don't know. What are we supposed to do?
I think she was just seeing how much we would do it.
Yeah.
She
Just
was
playing
bored
us.
and that was her entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of entertainment, got to show you this. I think I might have alluded to it last week, but I still think this is hilarious. This is our main man, Klaus Schwab, head of the World Economic Forum, the Great Reset dude. Says fashion will be abolished by 2030. Humans will all wear a uniform.
I will never wear a uniform ever again.
No fashion by 2030. No fashion. The guy's got goals. Give him credit. He's got goals.
Listen, I don't even care. Like, I am not, as Clay knows, I'm not the most fashionable human in the world. Like, I will just, throw on a t-shirt and shorts or whatever, or leggings and a t-shirt. I mean, I really don't care. Oh, you got chunkers. Hey, chunkers. But I will not be made to wear a uniform ever again in my life. Ever. Do not do that to me.
Bad thing about Chunkers, he's not photogenic.
He doesn't
All you
like
see
to
is
look.
this black blob.
Yeah. Now, Tallulah, on the other hand, is very photogenic because she is the sweetest baby in the whole world. She's my little love. Hi, little girl. That's my little girl.
Yeah, you can see her face, but Chunk's just black blob.
Mm-hmm. Eat the baby.
It's time. It's that time of night.
It is.
We've already had a couple check out, and bedtimes happen.
For
so,
me.
just want to thank you
couch. Yes, thank
for
you
joining. It was good seeing you again, and y'all are great company to spend a good Saturday night with. For the replay crew, thank you as well. Love you.
And we will see you on Tuesday. 7 o'clock.
We will see you on
same
Tuesday,
time.
7 o'clock. Tell your friends, family. Let's try to grow this thing. And we'll look forward to it. Y'all have a great night. Our time is up. We thank you for
Love you
hearing.
guys. Thank you.